I read that for Derry Girls, you kept like a notebook
Yeah.
for your character.
Yeah.
What was in it?
So, there was a lot of strange things in it. There was something at drama school that I'd learned where they basically said, if you want to know about your character, write down every fact.
Yeah.
So go through the script, and it's literally, it sounds boring, but it's like, Claire is, I think she was 15 years old in the first season, and, you know, she is from Derry, and she, you know, her dad's name is such, her mum's name is this, and all of that kind of stuff, and that gives you, like, facts you can't dispute about the character.
Yeah.
And then I had certain cutouts from the, like, characters from the 90s. So I had, like, Blossom, I had Clarissa Explains It All, Lisa Simpson, like, certain characters I felt like were Claire-esque. And I had little bubble stickers with her name on them that I felt like she would make, and I brought it to the audition. Because also Claire felt like that character that would have a notebook with her stuff in it. So it felt right, for her.
So how would you use it?
I would use it, I used it in practical ways for, like, accent notes.
Yeah.
Because it's such a different, the one word I always say to people, because people go, well, you're Irish, so how different? And I have to say, well, very different, actually, because I'm from Galway. So if I would say the word girl, in Derry they say girl.
Yeah.
So it's like they fit in so many more vowels where I wouldn't fit them. So stuff like that, and then little bits in the script and characters that reminded me of her, I would write them in, and it just felt like, but also I think when a script inspires you, it's super easy to get stuff like that in there, because it just, it fires off all the imagination centers in your brain, and you're like, oh yeah, this.
So would you just look through the notebook periodically to just
I
feel
would.
The vibe?
The audition process was about 6 months long for Derry Girls, so that was something that definitely I could invest in at that time, and it stopped me from losing my mind, and you know, because I wanted that part so much. You audition for something for that long, you become so deeply invested in it, and it breaks your heart, the thought of, like, not getting it. So it was definitely a helpful tool to have.
Why was it 6 months long? You had to keep going back for other readings?
It was 6 months long, yeah. The first audition, Carla Strong was the casting director.
Yeah.
She is incredible and was such a champion for us.
Yeah.
But I think a huge amount of the success of that show depends on how good the casting was.
Yeah.
Because that group of girls needed to seem like they'd known each other since they were teeny tiny little girls. Before they even decided to make friends, they were friends, and to have that dynamic. And I think Carla saw that in everyone, and, you know, people like Siobhan McSweeney, who played Sister Michael, you know, to find just, like, standout characters like that. And it's no surprise to me that Siobhan won a BAFTA, because that role was perfectly cast, perfectly written, and perfectly played. And when those things marry together, it just creates magic.
That show took off in Ireland.
Yes.
But it took a while to take off here, I think.
It was really funny, because when I remember towards the end of filming the first season, Dylan, who's our wee English fella, Dylan Llewellyn, he was saying to me, like, how do you think the show's going to do? And I said, I do think it will have success, but I said, I think it will be like a kind of cult following, because it's so specific, and the accents are so hard to understand, even for me. That I was like, I don't see it traveling. So when we knew it was acquired by Netflix and it was coming out, I didn't expect it to have the sort of global impact it had. You know, I've traveled so many places in the States, and people come up to me and, like, you know, in, like, Texas, and they love it, and people in Australia, and they love it, and I've got, you know, messages from people in Pakistan that love it. But I think because it's got a sort of honesty to it, and I think audiences really read that, and they read when something is genuine and comes from a real place, even though it's heightened and the characters are heightened. It comes from Lisa McGee's real lived experience, and I think the audiences feel that. But it is still to this day wild to me how much that show has travelled and how people have connected to it all across the world.
Did you have a moment you were like, what is happening here?
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. I think, like, I remember seeing, like, Martin Scorsese. That was a pretty crazy one.
What did he do?
He's a fan of Derry Girls, which I just find absolutely incredible. I don't know how to get my head around that. That's the last thing you would think he would love. I mean, but no, he's big into TikTok now. So maybe he was scrolling TikTok one day and saw some Sister Michael compilations.
I totally get why he would be into
You
it.
do?
Yeah, I do. You'd wanted to act since you were 4?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where did that come from?
It's wild. I remember my sister Clodagh, she recorded The Wizard of Oz to me at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And famously, I decided I didn't want her to do it. I got like very cranky, and I said, "No, I don't want to see this. I don't like this movie. I don't want to." And she said, "I'm just going to record it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tape it for you, anyways." So she taped it, and I watched it. I just went, "Oh, that's what I want to do." It was definitely magic, and it sort of felt like you can time travel and you can become any person.
It was not an easy dream to chase.
No.
As much as it may look like it now.
I know. It's funny because I think I had success early on, like as a kid.
Yeah.
So my drama teacher was my agent for a time, and I always loved doing accents. I've always found them fascinating.
Yeah.
So I used to do voiceover for cartoons, and I'd play little princesses or tiny frogs or whatever they needed a little girl voice for. I would do those. So that was a really nice way of like learning actually about like a professional environment, because I think sometimes the other way around, you go to drama school first, it's wonderful, but it's like you just have the freedom to go and just do the acting and explore the craft. But then, went to drama school, left, and then it was like, oh, hang on, like I don't have loads of money in the bank.
Yeah.
I will have to work full time. I don't really have an agent that can get me many auditions. I'm not auditioning. Why am I here?
Yeah.
I'm spending all my money to live in a place where I'm not auditioning. And when you sort of start to examine that, it becomes a bit like, this is not good and this is not what I want to be doing.
Did you lose faith at any point?
I mean, I think I felt foolish. It's like a winning the lottery thing. It really doesn't happen for most people, and it's terribly unfair because it's often very little to do with talent. I knew incredible people at drama school that never worked.
Yeah.
There was points that I would say to myself, like, why do you think this will happen?
Yeah. Why did you think it would happen?
There was always a weird part of me, deep, deep, deep down, that went, no, this is the right thing for you.
So you, at one point you were like working in an optician's shop?
Yes.
In Galway?
Yes, I was, yeah.
While you were still auditioning in London?
I mean, not so much because there weren't that many auditions that I was getting.
Yeah.
So I would get like random things the odd time and just not get them. And I think I've always struggled to audition for things that I don't love. I've been lucky in a sense that the jobs that I've gotten, I've really connected to the material. Well, it's a real privilege when you get to work with people that really love what they're doing and really believe in it.
Yes.
And I think I've been incredibly lucky to have had a few things that have felt that way.
Yeah. Like
Bridgerton obviously being one of them, but people like really putting their all in every single department. And what I often say to people about Bridgerton, and it's the thing that the audience would never see, but it's the returning crew.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important things to me. We've had people there since day one.
Yeah.
And crew don't need to come back.
Right.
They can choose to go on because they're highly, highly skilled.
Yeah.
They know that it's a long contract, so it's super hard work. It's very early mornings and late nights.
Yes.
Also, if the cast are not nice, they can go, I don't want to be around them. So as a cast, I think we're very proud that they want to be around us.
Yeah, and as I remember, it was pretty cold on that set when I was there.
Oh my gosh, some of those stages are freezing.
Yeah.
We filmed one day, we were at Hampton Court Palace,
Yeah.
which is Henry VIII's old gaff.
Yeah.
But it was -4 degrees, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, because I can't, but it was all day. The fog never lifted.
Yeah.
No sleeves.
Hard to be glamorous under those.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, they're going to have to CGI out the smoke coming out of our mouths.
Yeah.
And yeah.
When you got the part for Bridgerton,
Yes.
did you know how big it was going to be?
You can never really know, because you can say, I could buy the best cake ingredients in the world and give them to a bad baker and they could make a disaster.
Yeah.
So you can't say that you have all the right elements and it's definitely going to work. The casting directors did an incredible job, but again, that doesn't mean it's going to work.
No.
So there was definitely a bubbling while we were making it. It definitely felt like something was happening.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't know, and it was certainly really crazy. It came out right in the middle of the pandemic, like Christmas 2020. We were all stuck at home. So when it started sort of popping off, we were like, oh, wow, but still couldn't process it, really.
There aren't many shows I remember how I watched them.
Right, okay.
I just remember that I watched, But I remember exactly because it was the pandemic.
Yeah,
It was like literally all 4 of us in my family sitting on a couch because there was like nothing else to do.
Right.
And watching the show, and just it was transporting because of everybody was locked in.
But it was really, I think it was a massive privilege because the world needed joy so badly at that time.
Yeah.
And it took people away.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't really matter what you make. You want people to feel something. If you want them to laugh or cry or make them excited or scared, but Bridgerton made people feel something.
Yeah.
And that's a huge privilege. It felt really special that we could take people out of that misery for a time and take them to this other world. It's a beautiful thing.
You've said that you're more comfortable, I think, being funny and awkward than you are in a romantic situation.
For sure, yeah.
So how was this change for you?
It was really terrifying. I found it really intimidating. And when I found out I was going to be doing it, I thought, I don't know if I'm ready. I always thought it was season 4, so it being moved ahead, even though I understood, because you're like, if you see her pining over Colin one more season, you're going to be like, no, get over it. It's done. It's done.
Yeah.
So I got it from that sense, but it was still scary. But it was a lot. I had to really do some soul searching and say I was like, well, you have to do it because it's your job and people are counting on you. But to step up to that, and it's interesting because it very much reflects themes within the show that Penelope is going through, where she decides she's going to find a husband. It's her only way to have a certain amount of freedom within society and to escape her family. So, there was a lot of stuff within the show this season that, life imitating art, art imitating life, it all sort of melded into one. I was super lucky that I was doing it with Luke Newton and his so lovely and someone I could talk to because we both felt it, I think, It was a very different experience from filming seasons 1 and 2 where you do you're a little bit and then, it would go off to the leads. So you'd go off and you'd go back to your trailer, you'd go home or whatever, and you'd go, oh, the story's on them and we just get to do our bits and we'll leave. Yeah. And when you realize it's you there, you're like, oh, wow, okay, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of pressure. And but we had a great support system, which was lovely.
So how did you feel as you started doing this? Look?
It was just scary. It was scary. It definitely, even practical things, there's just a lot more shots of you, a lot more cameras on you, a lot more setups, a lot more costume fittings, a lot more hair and makeup fittings, a lot more it really, I didn't know how different it would feel and it felt incredibly different. Yeah.
Did you enjoy any part of it?
No, I really did. I really did. And I think the more that I got involved in the process and, and also I really wanted to have a say in it as well. And because I think what's lovely about Penelope's cosmetic transformation, if you want to say, is that it all comes from what she wants. Yes. It's how she's always wanted to look. Because with Penelope, it was always I remember in season 1, Mark Pilcher saying, the note we have for her is dowdy. And I thought, oh, good. Oh, great. So I knew the objective in season 1 and 2 was to make me not look great. But I was all game for that. And even it was quite fun, actually, in the beginning of season 3. There's a section in which she's in her old Penelope look. Yeah. And I said, just go crazy. Yeah. Just make me look as wild as you can because it makes the transformation so much more fun when the audience go from one to the other. But they made me the craziest dress. Yeah. It's like a tablecloth with some balloony pink sort of wild stuff. Yeah.
It must be fun to go in
It's
there.
very fun. Yeah. But it was emotional too because, the costume team, they've been waiting to do this. Yeah. And, even the new fabrics, there was one point, one of my first fittings, they just brought in a bunch of fabrics and held them against me and I got tears in my eyes. Yeah. Which I know sounds silly because it's just fabric, but it was we've been waiting 4 years to get to this moment.
I'm curious, I'll have a cup of tea too. How did you feel, considering all your nerves going in about this season? How do you feel you did?
I keep using a sports analogy for this, several, which is hilarious. But I do feel when footballers say we left it all on the pitch, it honestly feels like that. I feel like I gave it everything. And I feel so deeply proud of what we did. I wouldn't change it. It's funny sometimes the things that you fight against are the things that will help you. Yeah. I was annoyed at myself for feeling. I was like, stop feeling this way, this. Yeah. But then I was thinking, Penelope would feel that. Yeah. She's trying to go into society open in a way she's never been before and try to find a husband, but she has this self-doubt. So I thought, why not? That's okay to feel that. Yeah. And then towards the end, Luke and I kept saying to each other that it felt really effortless between us which was amazing to get to that point. But also, you have to go through the journey to get to that. So you can't then wish away the journey, you know?
Yeah. So as an actor, how do you use your own anxiety in playing her?
I think I always have to remind myself that no matter what character you play as an actor, there's always an element of you in it.
You talked about this, I think, in one interview I read, which was in the first season of Bridgerton, when you're essentially operating in secret.
Yes.
That looked like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To be sort of hanging in the back and watching.
Great
everything.
fun.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the thing is, I think you have to know in any show, it doesn't matter what it is, what's the like core narrative? And the core narrative was the Duke and Daphne.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, but I'm Whistledown, so I have to think like, what's going to be fun for the audience as a mystery to look back and watch the little moments.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, like just tiny things. Like there's one moment where the Duke is leaving the ball when Daphne's dancing with the prince, and I just like wanted to follow him with my eyes, and I wanted to be the only one following him. And, you know, the first moment that Anthony sees the Duke, I'm sort of there watching, and I'm like, Duke of Hastings.
Yeah.
So I, you know, if it wasn't obtrusive, I would say to the director, like, can I position myself here?
Yeah.
You know, and it's difficult because I was in these like wild yellow dresses, like a traffic cone. So like, you know, but yeah, if it made sense, I wanted to be able to be there because as an audience member, it's always fun to look back at that stuff and
it really
pepper it in.